2. Let's see if this works. So this is part 2 of my Zelda Randomizer tips. After watching Swiss Round 1, there were a few things that, one, I missed in the first video that I did, and 2, that I've seen and have been suggested to me by other people as well that might help some people do better in week 2. So, here we go. Very first thing, snakes and frisbees. This refers to fighting Landmola, Moldorm, and Digdogger. It's a really cool trick that you can do whenever you're fighting these guys. With Landmola and Moldorm, if you kill one full snake in the room, exit the door, go back in, magically the other one's completely gone. This is really great when fighting blue Landmola, as they can be, if you don't have a ring, you don't have good weaponry, it definitely will help you out in getting through those difficult rooms. Same thing with Moldorm, though a lot of times you're not going to worry about doing that, as Moldorms are pretty easy to take care of. Same thing works for a Digdogger with 3 parts. Kill one, leave, they're all going to be gone. So this is great if you don't want to use a second bomb, or, if it's randomized in the randomizer. Imagine that. So sometimes you'll get 1, sometimes you'll get 3. This will allow you to easily take care of those other 2 parts if you don't want to bother fighting them. Easy come, easy go. A lot of this is in reference to levels 1, 2, and 3. I've seen a lot of people in the first round spend a ridiculous amount of time in these early dungeons, even with a sword, fighting rooms full of Gibdos, Pulse Voice, Wizrobes, Lynels. My suggestion is that if you can, just walk through the dungeon. You're going to find lots of floor drops in these dungeons. You're going to find keys, you can find bombs, and in 1 and 2, there's even the possibility that you might pick up the item on the floor. So take the time to just walk through these difficult rooms. You're sure to find at least something that's either keys or gel that you can easily take care of if you've got just a wood sword or even just a candle, to see what you can find in the dungeon. Chances are you might even find the Triforce, and you could come back later if you find the recorder. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do by just skipping the hard rooms. And if you have to go back later, that's fine. But early on, it's really advantageous to save some time by just walking through the dungeons and finding what you can find. Hero on the half tile. When you fight Wizrobes, Lynels, Moblins, and Gorillaz, you want to do so with the best of your ability on a half tile to the right-hand side of their sprite. And this is vertically, up or down above them. And why this is because with the way the game is, the projectile will actually flow past you and won't actually do any damage. So you can avoid the swords, the beams, the arrows, and the boomerangs by being on that half tile. You can do the same kind of deal with the blue Wizrobes, except they're actually just not going to shoot at you at all. Blue Wizrobes only fire if they see you. And if you're on that half tile, they're not going to see you, and this is going to allow you to do basically combat with them without taking any damage, because they're not going to shoot at you. They're still going to phase, they're still going to move around, but if you stay on that half tile above or below, they're not going to shoot at you. And the same thing works if you're on a half tile to the right-hand side. On the bottom, you want to stay on the bottom. If you're on top, they're going to see you, but on the bottom, they're not going to see you, and so they're just not going to shoot at you. So this is a good way to fight those guys. Wide load, and this is reference to Dark Nuts. In contrast to the previous 4 enemies, you're going to want to stay on a full tile because they like to turn on a dime. And if you're on a half tile, they're going to run into you. So you want to try to stay on a full tile when you're fighting Dark Nuts so that you can move from place to place. And, you can it just helps because if they turn, they're going to turn above you, below you, to the left, to the right, and they're not going to run into you and do a bunch of damage. Also, with the previous note, while blue Wizrobes will not fire at you if you are on the bottom, if you're horizontally below them, all the other projectiles are still going to get fired by blue blue Moblins, blue Lynels, arrows, boomerangs, red Wizrobes will still fire. Those projectiles will hit you there. So you definitely do not want to stand there when fighting those guys. You want to make sure you're above or below. One cool trick that you can do that a lot of people may or may not think about, may not know that you can do, especially with the overworld shuffle being the way it is, or even some of these difficult screens with orange Wizrobes and blue Wizrobes. If you've got a candle, you can shoot the flame behind you, run into it, and it's going to damage boost you the direction that you want to go. and it's going to give you some invulnerability frames. So what this will allow you to do is, yes, you'll take a half heart of damage, but if it's blue dark nuts, you're only going to take half a heart instead of two. If it's an orange whiz robe, you'll only take a half a heart instead of a heart, or a 4 hearts if you're getting hit by the beam. So there's some cool stuff that you can do with that to help navigate some of these harder to navigate screens. As previously mentioned with the red whiz robes, they do 4 hearts of damage with the beam. If you don't have a candle, or you just walk into your room and you don't have it on, you haven't got the select swap fixed, run into them. If you're in, say, one of the spiral staircase rooms, and you're walking in and there's orange whiz robes, and I get shutter doored in, run into the orange whiz robe. You're going to take 1 heart of damage, hit iframes, and you're not going to take the 4 hearts that you would take from their beam. The grave is a feat of strength. A lot of people have seemed to not know this. There are the 4 push blocks, but also there is the gravestone in the graveyard. It is considered a feat of strength. So when you find a hint that says a feat of strength is required to get to the power, or to the white sword, there is a chance that that might actually be the gravestone. Exiting levels to respawn enemies. This is a cool little trick that you can do. Clear all the enemies outside of a dungeon screen. If they're bomb droppers, this is especially great. You can clear them out, go back in the dungeon, exit. It's going to respawn all the enemies there. So you can just keep doing that to farm bombs. It does take some time, but if you need to find a bomb, that's a great way to do it. All right, lightning reflexes. This one's kind of tough for some people, but basically when you walk into a room, you're going to want to quickly assess what's going on, right? Which, can be difficult, but don't hesitate. Because what I've seen a lot of people do is they're fighting dark nuts, or they go into a room with blue land mola and they stop. And they don't know exactly what to do right away. And the best thing to do is to trust your first intuition. If that's to run out the door, regather your strength, regather your thoughts, whatever, do it. However, if you're going to go into the room, just do it. Like if you're going to go into a room, you see a blue land mola, it's a double block room, get in there, clip into the block to fight it. Or get in there and do whatever you're going to do for combat. When you're fighting blue dark nuts, just fight them. Don't hesitate and stop and think about where you're going to go. They're going to swarm you. The same thing happens with Gorilla, Lionels. They're all going to swarm you. You've got to make quick decisions on the fly. Otherwise, you're going to end up dead. The enemy grab bag. And here I am dropping frames again, so I apologize. So hopefully not too much of this is being missed. With the new switch around of the enemies being switched all over the place in the dungeon with the new shuffle, I see a lot of people fighting really hard rooms full of enemies of blue whiz robes and Pole's voice and whatnot. One thing you can do is you can clear out the easy enemies. If there's Keese or there's Stalfos or something like that in the room, you can kill them, exit, re-enter, and chances are there's actually probably going to be an easier enemy higher on the spawn list, so that'll make it a little bit easier to clear out the room. And a lot of times you can actually just completely clear out the room entirely, and then you don't need to deal with any of the hard enemies at all. So that's another thing that you can do to help really speed up your time going through dungeons. Smoking the Dodongo, that's one of those things that a lot of people should already probably know, but there are newer people to the game, so not a lot of stuff to really go over here, but it's again on the half tile type thing. Half tiles are really your friend all over in Zelda 1. It's pretty cool. But basically you can force bombs off of the Dodongo by making a bomb explosion happen near its face, and it stuns it, and you can sword them. Have to use a sword. You can't use a wand, can't use an arrow. You have to use a sword, and it's going to drop a bomb. This is what the Dodongo dislike smoke hint is about in level 2 in the vanilla game. So the best and easiest way to do this is if they're moving horizontally. Vertically, chances are they're probably going to eat the bomb, so you want to try to do this on the horizontal plane. And you want to get in front of the Dodongo, either walk in front of them or walk towards them. It'd be 3 or so tiles off. Drop a bomb, it's going to explode. As long as the smoke hits within the front half of their sprite, it's going to stun them. And then you can sort them down and get your extra bomb. Another way is if he's really being difficult or you're not confident that you can get that half tile bomb to work, you can quickly feed a bomb to the Dodongo, drop another bomb in front of them real quick. The smoke's going to blow up. As soon as it starts moving, it's still there, and it's going to stun them, and you can get your bombs. It is important to note that while one bomb explosion is still going off, it won't matter that if you drop another bomb right away and the explosion hits in the right spot, it's not gonna register for it. So make sure that the previous smoke has already cleared before trying to drop another bomb to smoke a Dodongo. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And this will, again, drop a bomb every single time, except for one exception, and that is if you have managed to somehow get to the 16th enemy, and that is your Dodongo. The Dodongo doesn't advance the kill counter, so every single time you kill a Dodongo with it being on the 16th in a row, it's going to drop your fairy, and you're just going to keep getting fairies. So if you kill all three in a room on that, you're going to get a fairy every single time. So be very careful that you don't end up losing all your bombs, expecting to get some, and you've done a great job of not getting hit, but then all of a sudden you run out of bombs because of that. Clipping the crab. What this is about is, and I wasn't able to find a video because I couldn't find a good seed to do it. But when you're trying to clip into a diamond staircase with a Goma, you've got two different fireballs that it fires, and it alternates every other one. One of them will kind of track you, and one of them will kind of shoot at the position that you were at previously. So what you want to do is, first of all, you want the Goma to be on the opposite side of the diamond that you're trying to clip into, obviously, because otherwise it's going to shoot straight at you. It's going to make it really difficult. But you want to kind of try to time your clip for after it shoots the fireball that starts to track at you, and then start moving in to make your clip, because it's going to shoot at the previous location that you were at and not shoot into the square that you're starting to clip into and knock you out of your clip before you're able to get in. Clipping against a Goma can be super frustrating, especially if you're on a green tunic or that sort of deal. It can be super frustrating to deal with. So just kind of a tip there. It takes a lot of practice. Again, I didn't have a video. I wanted to find one. I apologize, but it's just something. One of the easiest things to do is if you're playing a random seed by yourself, or even if you find one that you're racing that's got one, go back and do a save state or something like that later on. Go back and try to do that clip, and that's a good way to get some practice. The lasting gift. A lot of people don't know, but at the fairy fountain, you can actually up A and continue. And as long as your health isn't refilled before you up an A, when you continue, you're going to have 3 hearts, and it's going to continue to refill your life. Some people have mentioned in chats like, oh, I never knew you could do that. It's an awesome thing that you can do, especially towards the end of the game. If you're getting ready to go into level 9, or if you're finished with a section of the map and you just want to have full life, you can jump into a fairy, hit up an A, drop the continue, and you're going to come back with full life. Makes it really easy to move along with the game. This is another thing that I actually saw last night with Redbird Grad. The little bomb that couldn't. Bombs can be eaten if you are in a room with shutter doors. And how this happens is that if you kill the last enemy, whether it be with a bomb, with a sword, whatever, as you're dropping the bomb and the bomb explosion goes off, if the shutter doors are opening, it has the ability to actually eat your bomb, and it will make it so that the bomb hole doesn't open. And this can be a huge problem, as with the find the bomb hole game that we have nowadays with shapes, that this can really cause you a major problem. In this case, it was getting to the silver arrows in 7, which is required to beat the game. So make sure that you're very careful with shutter doors in the room and using your bombs. Make sure that you either clear out the room first, or that you're not taking out the last enemy with that bomb. Clipping the clip. Seeing a lot of people struggle with block clips this week. And a lot of it is because they don't reset their position. If you try to make a block clip, you have to move out, I believe it's 16 pixels, Yunus can correct me if I'm wrong, away from the block you're attempting to clip into. If you don't do that, the game is going to think you're already there. So you can't make yourself clip unless you move down, move back up, and try to do the clip again. So you need to move down about a tile and a half, move back up, try your clip again. Same thing with the ladder clip. Seen people keep trying to do it over and over and over again. You've got to move all the way off the ladder first, move back on, and then try your clip again. If you're staying on the ladder, it's not going to reset, and you're not going to be able to make that clip. All right. The Barren Rooms. These 4 rooms that are presented on your screen will never have a drop in them ever. So do not waste your time clearing them unless it's a shutter door or you're wanting the drop off the enemy like a bomb or a rupee or you're looking for a fairy, because they will never, ever, 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 ever have a drop. Ever. It's just not possible. It's not coded in the game. Fred didn't change it. Don't waste your time clearing these rooms. It's just not worth it. Wizrobes on the overworld. So with our new cool shuffle, Wizrobes are one of our favorite enemies. I actually like them on the overworld. I prefer them there versus the dungeons, but nonetheless, some people hate them on the overworld. And here's some things you can do to help navigate a bit better. Orange Wizrobes are, Yuno's corrected me, Ganons can have an item on the floor, but you basically what this is, don't clear the rooms. You don't want to clear them. So it will have it already on there. Don't ever clear the room. So you don't need to kill the enemies there. Ganon's room, I guess, can have a drop on the floor, but you do not ever need to kill all the enemies in these rooms to actually get yourself a drop. So don't do it. It'll be there or it won't. Don't fight all the enemies looking for something. Back to Wizrobes. Orange ones are a real pain in the butt. You'll walk onto a screen and they'll be right in your face. Like literally the next tile you try to walk onto, they're going to be in your face. And this can be a real problem if you're trying to navigate a narrow corridor screen. But what you can do is if you've got some room to maneuver up or down, you can pick a tile that's not the one you want to walk on. So say you're getting ready to move up on the screen where the push block is for the Lost Hills. You obviously have a very narrow corridor to walk in. It's 2 tiles, and it can be a real pain. But what you can do is you can transition onto that screen, either left or right, but then immediately move to the other side so you're not going to get hit. Same thing can work if you have just a single corridor in some place. If you've got the room to transition above or below the tile that you actually want to walk on, do that. They're going to spawn there and it's going to let you walk by. You can also, if you know that you're going to have orange Wizrobes there and you're going to traverse that screen a lot, when you move in, a lot of times they're all going to be spawned in a row. Drop a bomb, try to kill all but one, and then you only have to deal with one of them spawning on the screen, and it can make it a lot easier to do. Last night, 2 nights ago, I actually had orange Wizrobes on the Armos screen that's south, not the one directly east, but southeast east of level 2. And they actually, because as the enemies come on, they come on staggered, so they don't all spawn at the same time. Well, the orange Wizrobes will do that too, and that might have been the most deadly screen that I've ever had to deal with ever, because literally it's just like 1, 2, and every time you're moving, you're trying to get somewhere, they're just popping up and shooting at you. So if Fred ever wants to make a really hard mode, make orange Wizrobes have a staggered spawn, because it would be ridiculously difficult to actually combat. And then there are blue Wizrobes. No matter what you do, these guys suck, but a lot of times they're going to gang on the middle of the screen. So if you have 5 of them on the screen, they're generally going to be in a row on the middle. So the easiest way to try to deal with these guys, if you're moving left to right on a screen, is to try to transition at the top and bottom. A lot of times they won't spawn there, so you can actually get on the screen and make some decisions before you start getting fired at. Obviously, this isn't possible to do on all screens, but for the most part, that's how you want to deal with those. Once you see it, you might just transition back to the previous screen, pick a different location to try to walk on and navigate your way through. Saw a couple of matches this week, and then in level 9, people were taking the time to bomb the entry room and the old man room of level 9. No matter what you do, the very first room and the old man room, if there's not a door there, there will never be a door there. You cannot bomb. So if you walk into level 9, the very first room, all you can ever do is go up. You can't bomb left, you can't bomb right. Doesn't matter if you hear Ganon, you can't get there that way. Also, if you walk up and there's only a door that goes to the right, that's the only direction that you can go. So don't bomb up, don't bomb left. Save your bombs. They're very important. Don't use them there. On the vein of bombs and keys, subscribe to the retry button. And what that means is save your game, go to a dungeon if it's close to start, even if it's not close to start, if you're strapped for resources on keys, but this works really well if you have a level that's really close to the start screen. If it's early in the game, you've only got 2 keys and you've got 5 key doors to choose from. Save your game, go to the dungeon, pick those 2, see what happens. If it doesn't work, hit up an A, hit retry. Magic, your keys are back. Go back and try 2 different key doors. See what you can find and see if you can progress through the dungeon and make sure that you can get through the game without stressing yourself out too much. Last tip, blast-proof shields, dark nuts, and bombing. This image brought to you by LackAttack24. Took it off of redcandle.us. Great site as well if you need some information on clipping and general knowledge, as well as some other videos and things like that. But this diagram will show you how to fight dark nuts with bombs. It's the same concept as fighting them with the sword, but with how you drop the bomb. So you want to make sure that Link's directional face whenever he drops a bomb is basically how the bomb is faced. So imagine the bomb, put a Link face on it, whatever direction you're facing, put the Link on there, and that is exactly where your bomb is basically going to be able to do damage. So if you're facing a dark nut, you drop a bomb, doesn't matter if you move away after you drop the bomb, you're basically face to face, it's not going to do damage. So you've got to make sure that you're moving away or that you drop it above or below the line that they're working. Again, half tiles are fantastic for this, and that's how you can bomb dark nuts. So that's all I have. Sorry I wasn't reading chat. But I don't think there was too much on there other than the Ganon room that, it can have a drop on the floor. But, yeah, hopefully this will help out some people some more. I'll do another video once we actually get to the bracket stage that kind of breaks down the major changes there. There's not too many, but the few that there are can actually be pretty changing to how you navigate through dungeons and such. So thank you all for watching. I hope it was informative, and hopefully y'all will get some good information out of this. So I'm going to upload this as soon as I get done, and I appreciate you watching.